guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a bit different and I'm really looking forward to it because today I'm going to be reacting to your unpopular opinions about curly hair care. So I've been wanting to do this video for actually quite a while and today I'm finally doing it, and I asked you guys last night on Instagram on my stories just to give me your unpopular opinions about curly hair care. So something that you believe that you think is an unpopular opinion that most people don't agree with. And then I'm going to read some of them out and talk about them, tell you what I think, whether I agree or disagree, and we can just have a general chit chat about them, because there are a lot of sort of hard and fast rules within curly hair care, which there probably don't need to be. In fact, there definitely don't need to be. So sometimes it's good to blow the lid off that a little bit and discuss some of the things that are unpopular in the curly world, but actually, you know, maybe there's some merit. I've got my cup of tea because my throat is almost back to normal after having COVID, but I still get a little bit croaky, so I'm going to keep my throat nice and wet. And I'm actually going to stick on my new headband from Dandy Lane that just arrived yesterday, and I'm obsessed with it, just to get my hair out of my face so I can see what I am doing. I've got my laptop here so I can see all of your unpopular opinions. So the first unpopular opinion is, this one came up a few times actually, so it's maybe not all that unpopular. Deep conditioning is extra. You don't really need it. Oh, how shocking. So deep conditioning is one of those things that when people start their curly journey, you know, they'll maybe be told you must deep condition. And then some people actually find that deep conditioning doesn't work that great for them. So I would say this is one of those where it depends on you and your hair. If you do have very damaged hair, so if you're, you know, your hair's transitioning from perhaps being dyed and straightened or chemically treated, then yeah, you probably really do need to deep condition, and you probably will really see a difference. I know myself, when I started my curly journey, I deep conditioned every week and my hair needed it. Whereas now I almost never deep condition. If I'm going to do a treatment, it's usually going to be a protein treatment or a bond rebuilder, but I almost never deep condition. So I think this is one of those that actually, yeah, it depends on your hair type. If your hair's quite healthy, or if your hair is very fine, perhaps tends to be more easily over conditioned, then you might find that you just don't need to deep condition. Okay, so this is an interesting one, okay? Long curly hair might look nice, but it doesn't pack a punch like short hair. Whew, you guys are not holding back. So I don't know if I agree with this one. I agree that short curly hair packs a punch. I 100% would agree with you that it does. But have you seen some of these girls with this amazing long curly hair? I would say that packs a punch. People like Hans Curls, Ms. Bianca Renee, those people, they've got really long hair, and I would say their hair packs a punch, probably even more than it would if it was short. So I think it depends on someone's hair. I think it depends on their face shape. I think curly hair is just gorgeous and packs a punch whether it's long or short. Okay, the next one, do what works for you and ignore the rules. So yeah, I would say that I do agree with this with like an asterisk. So I would say definitely, if something is working for you and then you hear someone say, oh, but that's breaking the rules. If it's working for you, it's working for you, and don't let anybody tell you differently. I absolutely think if something's working for you, then great. However, I do think that sometimes at the start of a curly journey, if you're new to curly hair care, the rules can be helpful, because the rules can help you to kind of get the hang of your hair. If you can stick to somewhat set rules just to start with. So for example, you might do the curly girl method to start with. And although you might not then continue doing the curly girl method, starting with that can help you to figure out what your hair needs. Because if you're just going in sort of blind with no like rules or no do's and don'ts in place, then it can probably be even more overwhelming than it already is. So I would say that the rules are helpful. They're helpful to understand why the rules are rules, although they're not, you know, obviously you can do what you want with your hair. But then once you know your hair well and you know what you're doing, by all means, you know, try it, break a rule, and if it works for you, then great. So I know lots of curly girls with amazing curls who use sulfates and silicons, sulfates and silicons. Their hair's incredible. And I know some who sometimes straighten their hair and their hair's absolutely fine, but then your hair might be different. So It does depend. So what this is true. If something works for you, then by all means keep doing it. But I do think the rules are also useful, especially when you're starting out. Does that make sense? Oh, okay. I like the next one because this is one I agree with. You can touch your hair while it's drying. So I absolutely do this. And I know, you know, people say, don't touch your hair while it's drying, it's going to cause frizz. But my hands are in my hair all the time, day and night. No, not at night, but all day anyway. So while my hair's drying, I use my fingers to lift at the roots while I'm diffusing. And then when I get to about like 80–90% dry, I actually start scrunching out that crunch before it's dry, and that makes my hair dry quicker, and it also gives me more volume, and I just prefer it. So yeah, I think that this is so true. However, if your hair is maybe prone to excess frizz, again, if your hair's really damaged, there's certain things that can help. So not touching your hair while it's drying. If you're, you know, your hair's suffering from a lot of damage, that might help you. But again, as your hair gets healthier, you can sort of be a lot more lax with these things. I love to get my hands in my hair while it's drying, for sure. Now this is one that came up time and time again. Frizz is a good thing, and yes, I do agree. Frizz can be so helpful. Frizz gives you volume, frizz gives you texture. Curly hair and wavy hair has frizz. You aren't going to get naturally curly or wavy hair that doesn't have any frizz at all. Even if you're, you know, you look at somebody's photo and you think, they don't have any frizz, I guarantee you there will be. It will be the lighting or the filter or something. You know, I always have some amount of frizz, always. Let me show you. If I turn this way and the light is behind me, you can see, not that it's particularly frizzy, I'm not saying it is, but you can see the frizz more. Look, you can see it there. Whereas when I pop it back where we had it, and the light is going towards my hair, it doesn't look frizzy. So bear that in mind. Sorry, that's slightly off topic, but I think it's good to show that, yeah, everyone has frizz, and frizz can be good. I do agree. This one is interesting. How beautiful hair looks depends a lot on genetics. So I would say that I agree and don't agree at the same time, and I'll explain what I mean. So genetics does have a huge part to play in how your hair looks and your curl pattern, and to a certain degree, you know, you can't change your curl pattern. You can sometimes change your curl pattern if your curl pattern has been reduced because of damage or something, but you can't change what the baseline of your curl pattern is. So if your hair is at the root of it, in its healthy state, wavy, then it's wavy. If your hair is curly, then it's curly. You aren't going to actually change the root of that. Genetics comes into play with that, and also how much hair you have makes a difference as to how your hair looks, and that can be genetic as well. It can also be hormonal and other things. But that's not to say that your hair can't improve a lot with the right styling products and the right techniques and look the best version of itself. So I think that, you know, curly and wavy hair is beautiful, full stop. And each person's hair can reach its full potential, and that might not look the same as someone else's hair's full potential. So, you know, genetics comes into play there, but you can still get the most beautiful for you, and your hair is still going to be beautiful. It might not be the same as someone else. So yes, I think it's true, but also I think you can obviously do a lot for yourself, a lot for your hair by using the right products and the right techniques. This one is interesting, and I'll tell you why. Big Count should say too when some products didn't work for them. So from a consumer point of view, I can completely understand why you feel that way. However, from an influencer point of view, the reason that I personally don't like to say, I got sent this product and it didn't work for me, is because we all know, right, that just because something works for me doesn't mean it'll work for you, and vice versa. And because we have influence, when you've got, you know, people following you and people do take your recommendations seriously, if I was to say, this didn't work for me, I didn't love it, then I almost feel like that's unfair for the brand, because it's just that it didn't work for my hair. It doesn't mean that it's not a good product. And I have said in the past, if people ask me, oh, have you used XYZ? I'll say I did, didn't work great for me. I'll give you an example of why I don't necessarily like to say, oh no, that didn't work for me as well. The brand Only Curls, which funnily enough, I've used Only Curls curl cream and their mega hold gel in my hair today and absolutely love it. Really, really love their shampoo bar, the shampoo and conditioner, the curl cream and the mega hold gel. Rewind 3 years ago, I think, and I was first, when I first had my Instagram page, and I was sent the curl cleanser, conditioner, curl cream and their curl defining gel, the original gel, to try. And no matter what I did, I could not get these products to work for me. And my hair just always looked excessively frizzy and undefined, and the curls didn't last. And I really did not like the results that I got with them. And people did ask me, have you tried Only Curls? And I would say, if I was specifically asked, yes, but they didn't work for me. Fast forward, having chatted with the person behind the brand, Lizzie, she's just lovely, and she mentioned they had the Stronghold gel coming out, and she said, oh, can I just send you some stuff to try again and, you know, see what happens? And I thought, well, sure, what your hair needs and likes changes. So she sent me everything. They have become absolute favourites. Now granted, the shampoo bar and the mega hold gel are new and I hadn't tried those before, but the shampoo, conditioner and curl cream I had tried before and didn't get on with, and now I think they're absolutely fantastic. So what my hair needed and liked changed drastically over that time. And so me having said way back years ago, no, my hair does not get on with Only Curls, no, I really don't like it, made my hair frizzy, blah blah blah, that could have, you know, actually could have cost them sales. And as it happens, then I would have looked a bit silly now saying, oh, I love Only Curls. You know, it would have, a lot of people may have looked at that and thought, well, hang on a minute, I seem to remember. So I just like to bear that in mind, that hair types change. And also I know, so when I recommend a hair product, I know that's not going to work for all of you. It's going to work for some of you. And I think just bearing in mind that the opposite is also true. I wouldn't like to almost badmouth a brand or a product and then cause you guys to not try it when actually maybe your hair would have loved it. So I hope that that's clear as to why I don't tend to say, oh, I tried this, but I didn't, you know, and post about me not having liked it. It tends to be, if I get sent something and it doesn't work for me, I just let the brand know quietly it didn't really work for me, and then I don't say anything about it. So hopefully you can understand why that is the case. But I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on that one. So please, if you have thoughts on that, let me know in the comments. Okay, this one made me laugh out loud because I genuinely had this exact thought process myself. The bowl method is dumb because it's literally just styling with soaking wet hair and diluting your products. So the bowl method, you've probably seen it. It's using a bowl, funnily enough, when you wash your hair, and usually it's done with conditioner and styling products, not so much gel, maybe leave-ins, curl creams, things like that. And so instead of like rinsing your hair with the shower head, you have a big bowl of water and you would apply, say, your leave-in conditioner or whatever, and then you dunk your hair like this in the bowl of water, and then squish it in, and then dunk it again, squish it in. And so part of me thinks, okay, it's a bit like squish to condish because you squish water into your hair when you're doing squish to condish. But the thing with the bowl method is it catches the product that's running off. And so then you've got like a product and water mix that you're squishing back into your hair. However, I feel like that wastes a lot of product. So you're diluting your product, but you could just dilute your product in your hand. And I feel like it maybe makes sense when you're doing squish to condish with a rinse out conditioner. That makes sense to me. Doing it with a curl cream, I can't quite understand why you would do that, because a curl cream is a styling product. So if you're using that bowl of water, you're sort of like rinsing most of it out. So yeah, it doesn't 100% make sense to me, but I have never tried the bowl method, and it is one that's on my list of things to try and obviously film and share. So I will do that. I will definitely try it and share and see what sort of results I get, because some people absolutely swear by it. So it's an interesting one, but I'm going to try it. But those are my same initial thoughts on it. Like, what's the point? Chocolate break. Okay, this one is another interesting one. Clarifying every wash day is absolutely fine. So I think we have to ask the question, what you mean by clarifying, because for some people clarifying would be an ACV rinse, for other people clarifying would be using a sulfate-free clarifying shampoo, and for other people clarifying would be using a sulfate shampoo. So it depends what you mean by that. And again, I would say it depends on your hair. Some hair definitely benefits from a stronger cleanser more regularly. And then some curly hair would be strip dry and just be awful if you clarified every wash day. My favourite clarifying shampoo is the Naughty Detox Dino, and it's sulfate free, but it's a really, really good clarifying shampoo. And yes, I think I could use that every wash day and not have any problems at all. Whereas a really strong sulfate shampoo, I think I probably would start to notice the difference if I was using a sulfate shampoo every wash day. So it really depends what you mean by clarifying. Curly hair is high maintenance. I don't think that my curly hair is high maintenance if you compare it to somebody who washes, blow dries and straightens their hair every day. So I spend actually less than an hour these days doing my hair, and I do it once a week. If I wanted my hair to look like wash day curls every day, then yes, probably would say it's high maintenance, but I don't. It's not practical. It's fine that it doesn't look like wash day curls every single day. But I would say, again, at the start of your journey, when you're figuring out what your hair needs and likes, and you know, it can be very time consuming, and it also can be very brain consuming. Like, it can really take over your mind when you're first starting out and you're researching and you're watching videos and you're trying to learn ingredients and you're trying different products and styling techniques. It can be extremely overwhelming and time consuming. But once you get your routine down and once you figure out what your hair likes, then no, I don't think it's high maintenance. But again, everybody has a different level of what they think is high maintenance. So I like to put on a full face of makeup, not every day, once or twice a week. And some people might call that high maintenance, but for me, it's just something that I enjoy doing. And I think it's the same with hair care. You might feel it's high maintenance if you don't enjoy it and it's not really something that you like. It doesn't feel like a form of self-care. Whereas if you enjoy it, like I do, then it doesn't feel like high maintenance. Okay, this one. All the steps in curly hair care are unnecessary if your hair is healthy. Disagree. I definitely disagree with this. My hair is healthy, like so healthy. I don't even get split ends. Obviously I don't dye my hair. I don't use high heat. I haven't straightened it in nearly 5 years. It's the healthiest it could possibly be. And yet, if I don't do the steps in the styling routine that I do, I mean, mine's is fairly basic, but if I don't do those steps, then I don't get the results that I like. So I wouldn't get the definition and the ringlets and the shine and the bounce, and I wouldn't get curls that last for days. So personally, for me, for how I like my hair, I feel like those steps are necessary. But then I don't have an extensive routine. I certainly don't judge anybody who does spend a lot of time doing their hair to make it look how they want it to look. So I wouldn't say that anybody's choice in styling techniques is unnecessary if it gives them the results that they want. And one more thought on that one, I do also think that looser curl patterns need to do a little bit more to get the curls to hold and to form than perhaps like tighter curl patterns like 3B, 3C onwards. Well, that somebody got out of bed the wrong side this morning. No, I'm only kidding. CGM, which stands for Curly Girl Method, is rubbish. So I don't agree that it's rubbish. I feel like that it's a good starting place, but I do feel like it has changed. The Curly Girl Method originally and what the Curly Girl Method now is today, according to the creators of the Curly Girl Method, they are slightly different. Then there's kind of the wider Curly Girl Method, which is what it's kind of grown organically to be, where people have added in other things that you know, they'll call it CG. For example, shampoo, sulfate-free shampoos. According to the Curly Girl Method as it stands at the moment, you are not supposed to use any kind of shampoo on your hair. You're only supposed to use co-wash. People talk about Curly Girl Method friendly shampoos. So although they're technically not, but then there's kind of this like wider, vaguer idea of the Curly Girl Method. When I first started my curly hair journey, I was strict Curly Girl Method, strict CG. I only co-washed. The only thing I clarified with was an ACV rinse. I would absolutely not use a product if it had even the tiniest hint of isopropyl alcohol in it or anything with a wax at all. I was super strict, and I was like that for a good few years, to be honest, to the extreme, I would say. Whereas the last few years, I have learned that it's not a one size fits all when it comes to curly and textured hair, and that some people can have fantastic results with using all the things that the curly girl method says are not okay. And also that doing something once that's not curly girl approved is not going to ruin your hair. It's not going to set your progress right the way back to square one if it's something like using a sulfate shampoo or using something with silicone in it or something with a drying alcohol or a wax, if you have the knowledge to know what to do about that. I still don't use sulfates or silicones, and I don't use high heat on my hair. All things which other curlies do sometimes or all the time and have no problem with, but I choose not to. But because I do use brushes, so I use brushes not even to detangle, just more for to smooth through after squish to condition, because I use a brush and because I use sulfate free shampoos, then that means that I am not following the curly girl method as it stands. Sorry, that's a very roundabout explanation, but what I'm saying is no, I don't think it's rubbish, and I think it works really well for a lot of people. However, I don't think it's the be all and end all or the bottom line in curly hair care. And if what you're doing is working for you and it's not the curly girl method, then that's absolutely fine. It's not a problem. There's extremes. There are some people who are extremely on the side of you have to follow the curly girl method to the letter, otherwise your hair's going to be rubbish. And then there's people who say the curly girl method is evil, it's from the devil, it's a load of rubbish. And I don't think that either of those extremes are true. I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle, and I do think that it's perfectly acceptable to pick and choose what you want from the curly girl method that works for you or that doesn't. But, you know, obviously I'm not going to go around saying I follow the curly girl method, because I don't. So this is one that for my hair I would agree with, but I don't agree with it as like an overall rule. So on my hair is much better if I remove a little bit of the excess water before I add my gel. However, I know loads of people whose hair is so much better styled on soaking wet. So it's one of those that's just, you have to try and see what works for you. So for this person, obviously their hair's better not being styled soaking wet, similar to me. But, you know, you just have to try and see what works for you. There aren't rules when it comes to these styling things. It's just about trying them and seeing what works for your hair. Oh, do you know what? I like this one. Curl activators don't activate anything. Fancy marketing for a cream / gel. And I think this is true. I think it is clever marketing. I wouldn't say there's likely to be anything different about something that's branded as a curl activator. But I do think that there's this hype about, oh, I need a curl activator. But, you know, it's just another product. So yeah, I agree with that one. I think curl pattern classification is overrated. I would still call wavy hair curly in my native language. So yeah, I think that it's true, and I think that people do get really hung up on curl types. And there was a time when I used to get a lot of pictures via DM on Instagram asking me, what curl type do you think my hair is, sending me pictures. And you know what, it just doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because somebody with 2A hair and someone else with 2A hair could have completely different hair, and their hair needs would be completely different. It doesn't really matter all that much. There are certain things which do apply, you know, to perhaps like looser curl patterns and tighter curl patterns, but the whole curl typing system is not as important as sometimes we feel it is. I also do think that the gatekeeping and the kind of like, your hair's not curly, it's just wavy, I personally hate that. I mean, that's just such a horrible thing to say, like, oh, your hair's not even curly, it's just wavy. So what? Wavy hair is a curl type. It's a looser curl type, and it's beautiful. It's not just wavy hair, it is wavy hair, and people spend a lot of money going to the hairdresser or on hot tools to try and get their hair to look wavy. So all these people with naturally beautifully wavy hair, it's not an insult, it's an amazing thing. So yeah, curl typing, pfft. Okay, this one got me cringing. You can straighten your bangs and still be a curly girl. I don't know about that one. Okay, so straight bangs or fringe and curly hair, it just makes me think of like the noughties and the 90s, and it makes me think of straightened fringe, kind of crispy and scrunched out the crunch curls, and I just can't get on board with it. I'm really sorry. However, that being said, that's my opinion for me. If you have hair and if you have curly hair and you straighten your bangs and you're happy with that, then keep doing what makes you happy. I won't be doing it on me though. This one, using a clarifying shampoo is bad. So I'm assuming that this person who feels this way maybe follows the curly girl method strictly, like we talked about earlier. So if you follow the curly girl method strictly, then you would only ever co-wash. So, and if you're going to clarify, you would maybe use an ACV rinse, apple cider vinegar. You wouldn't use a clarifying shampoo. So, I mean, if that's what you want to follow, then by all means, if it's working for you, again, great. However, clarifying your hair is not a bad thing. Clarifying your hair is necessary, because even if you follow the curly girl method and you only use things which are technically not supposed to build up in your hair, products still do build up on your hair and on your scalp. And by not removing that buildup, it's not just products, by the way, it's just pollution in the air, and it's mineral deposits from the water. All those things do build up on your hair. They just do. It's a fact. And on your scalp. And if you don't remove them, then you're in for some problems. That being said, again, levels of buildup depends on the products you use. It depends on what your water is like, if it's soft or hard, and it also depends on your hair, because some types of hair seem to be more prone to build up than others. So you might find that just co-washing is fine and you've never experienced a problem, then fantastic, that's great. But there certainly are hair types who would definitely experience problems if they never clarified their hair. I do need to, and no one's going to persuade me otherwise. Now this one I agree with 1,000,000%. I know that's not a thing. Plopping overnight is actually bad for the scalp. Yes, it is. Having your hair wet or your scalp wet for extended periods of time is bad for the scalp, and it can cause fungal growth. It's not only bad for the scalp, but it's also really bad for the hair, because your hair being wet for an extended amount of time can actually cause like the hair shaft to swell. And then if it's constantly being caused to swell like that, then it can actually end up being damaged. So I 100% do not recommend plopping for more than, say, 20 minutes. Like, I wouldn't do it for any longer than that. I wouldn't leave wet hair sitting on my head. And some people do think that it's a viable option to plop their hair and then go to bed and sleep all night, and I absolutely wouldn't recommend that. And I know some people do it and don't have any issues, but you could develop a fungal issue, or your hair could become severely damaged from being allowed to be wet for so long. So I definitely don't recommend that. So this one's interesting, because I feel so using a curling iron on low to fix wonky pieces once in a while is okay. So on one hand, I would say yes, it's okay, because it's your hair and you can do whatever you want with your hair, and don't let anyone tell you not to. On the other hand, it's not something I would do. I haven't used high heat, like a heat tool or straighteners or tongs on my hair in over 5 years, and I have no plans to at all, because I know my hair is fine and easily damaged, and I just don't want to take that risk. And also, there's something to be said for if you have a piece that's consistently wonky and you then consistently use a heat tool on it, it's almost a vicious cycle, because you're using high heat, which is going to damage the hair over time, and so then that's going to cause that piece of hair to then again be wonky and not want to curl, and so it's just going to be a vicious cycle. However, that being said, like I said, if it suits you, then by all means carry on. I have nothing to say. What? Low porosity hair can love protein. Mine isn't damaged at all and loves it. Yes, and I think it is a very common misconception that low porosity hair will hate protein. It's not the case. All hair needs some protein added, and low porosity hair can love protein. Sometimes it's about the types of proteins, the protein molecules can be different sizes and different types of proteins. So maybe it's about finding the right protein for your hair type. But yeah, if you find that your hair's loving protein, then great. Yeah, don't think that, but my hair's low porosity, so I better not. Just try and see. Obviously, this person has figured out that their hair really, really does love protein despite being low porosity. And yeah, it's absolutely possible. There are so many really, really great unpopular opinions here on my screen, and if I answer all the ones I want to, then this video is going to be so long that nobody is ever going to get to the end of it. So I may come back and do a part 2 soon. So I'm just going to pick a couple more to do right now. This one, there's no such thing as too much gel. have to disagree with that because I have many times used too much gel and I've paid the consequences, and my hair looks stringy and weighed down and kind of dull looking and frizzy, and too much product's definitely a real thing. You might find that for your hair loves a lot of gel, but depending on your hair type, if your hair is lower porosity or fine, mine is higher porosity but it's very fine, and I can definitely tell when I've used too much gel. And another one I have to disagree with, protein is totally unnecessary. No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm sorry, I just disagree. My hair loves protein, and if I go protein free for say like 2 or 3 wash days, then I will be able to tell the difference. It needs that protein added in. It just needs it. What more can I say? But there are some hair types that don't need much protein. They can just use moisturizing products and their hair loves it, and that's fantastic. But it's certainly not the case for me, and I know it's not the case for a lot of other curlies as well. Okay, and I just want to squeeze this last one in here because I think it's an interesting one. There's nothing wrong with dry detangling as long as you're gentle with your hair. So I actually usually dry finger detangle these days before I wash my hair. Saves me so much time in the shower. But then again, my hair is not particularly tangly. It's not particularly prone to being badly tangled. There are very differing opinions on this one because technically your hair is at its weakest when it is wet. So if you were to just wet your hair and then brush it, then you've got the highest chance of causing damage and breakage. However, if you wet your hair and then put loads of conditioner on it, that conditioner gives your hair slip, which means that it's going to be easier for the brush to get through and detangle your hair. Dry detangling with a brush can be difficult because when you're using a brush, you can just tear through the hair, whereas when you use your fingers, you've got a bit more of an idea of the places that are tangly before you kind of tear through them as you would with a brush. So for me, I like to dry finger detangle, but everybody seems to just find what works best for them. And if dry brushing works great for you, as this says, if you're being careful, start from the bottom, work your way up, use a detangling brush, a brush that's especially made for detangling, then fantastic. Some people say they feel like they lose less hair when they dry detangle than they do if they detangle in the shower. So see what works for you. The only thing I would say not to do is to just wet your hair and then brush it. If you're going to wet detangle your hair, do it with lots of conditioner in your hair. And the most gentle way of detangling your hair is with your hands, because your hands are in there and you can feel what's going on. That's not to say don't use a detangling brush, but that's just the most gentle. However, if your hair is really prone to tangles, you might find you need a brush. So it's all about figuring out what works for you. And on that note, I think for most of these that we've discussed today, the bottom line is different things are true for different people. And I think that's just what we have to remember when we're trying to, make hard and fast rules or do's and don'ts of curly hair care, is that in most cases there aren't any hard and fast rules. It's just about finding out what works for you, and what works for you might not work for someone else. So let's not all get caught up in these rules and you must and you must not, and let's just all help each other have beautiful curls. Thank you for watching. I hope you found that interesting. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I had a great time responding to all of your unpopular opinions, and I think I probably agreed and disagreed in equal measures. If you did enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And I'll see you soon. Bye.